everybody, wherever you are in Africa or other parts of the world. Welcome to the third masterclass of VIA Water. My name is Shabana, and I'll be moderating today's masterclass. About myself, for those who don't know me, I work as program manager at Aqua for All, and I'm also part of the VIA Water team. With me in the room, I have my colleague V, who will be supporting us on the technical side of this masterclass. We hope everything goes well. So the focus of our today's masterclass is how to develop your business using business model canvas. We will be diving in deep on some of the selected topics within the business model canvas, which our speaker will tell you more about. We hope that you've all done your homework and filled in the business model canvas for your innovations and business ideas. This will really help you digest and understand some of the stuff that our speaker will be talking about. So without a further ado, I would like to introduce to you our speaker for today. Many of you probably know her or have received coaching from her for your VIA Water projects that you're undertaking right now. So we have with us Saskia Reus. Saskia is founder of Africa Funded, which is a consultancy firm supporting businesses and NGOs to develop innovative business models in developing countries. She has 18 years of corporate and entrepreneurial experience, with 8 years working with Africa-based entrepreneurs. If I hear her right, more than 250 of them who are working on water sanitation with nexus to energy and agriculture. Before starting Africa Funded, Saskia worked for Canon Europe and for Boston Consulting Group Marketing. Before I give the floor to Saskia, I'd like to mention to you the structure of our masterclass today. We will have about 20 to 30 minutes for Saskia to talk us through the topic. If you have any questions that come up during this talk, something you don't understand, something you would like to ask, or something you want to know more about, please write down those questions in the chat box that you see on the screen. Please try to make your questions clear and concise, because we will not have a lot of time to figure out what you mean. We will try to answer all your questions, the ones you have posted on the Facebook group and the ones that you will post on this chat. We will try to cover as many questions as possible that are relevant to the topic that we will be covering today. Saskia, the floor is yours.
Shabana, thank you very much. And also V, thank you very much for helping us to host this session. Well, I'm really happy that you're all on board for this workshop. And today we look into how to more or less turn your pilot into a business. And I'm aware that we have a large group of participants with different kind of backgrounds. For some, it might be totally new to start a business. And for some, you might already have experience. So although we have a diverse group, there might be some repetition for some of you. But for everyone, there should be something new or something that trigger the next step. So, yeah, this is me, and Shabana already introduced me. So for today, we look into the business model canvas, but more specifically into the customer and value proposition side, because it's normally the next step. Most of you have a technical product design, so it's already up and working. And the question is, who is your customer and how to approach them and how to learn more about them. And also we look into the value proposition, and I will share some pragmatic examples to inspire you. And why we do this? Because the key to make your company survive will only happen if enough people buy your products, right? Quite simple, quite straightforward. But it's the big next step after you have a product, how to sell it. So the most basic question we can ask ourselves or statement we have in developing a business is the essence. So what we do with a business, we generate revenue, we deduct the cost, and that is profit. That sounds very simple. And maybe when you start your company, you can easily oversee the costs, and also you can easily define the price. But if you move along and the company will grow, what we sometimes observe is that people only use the production cost of the product as a price. And then, for example, you miss out the covering of the cost for the overhead and the staff, the logistics, the interest, and everything else. So just be aware, if you grow your company, that you also cover all the costs involved with developing and selling your product or service. The business model canvas, I'm quite aware you already heard about it. It's also in the Facebook group here. I assume you have copies of it next to you and hopefully filled it in. You're also able to ask questions about it during the interactive part later on. So use this one. It's just one model to support you in designing a business model. Of course, you can have other ways around. It's not totally complete, but it's a good way to brainstorm, to start, and to keep working on it. Because along the way, you will learn a lot about your business. You get customer feedback. The product might be different. The market might change. So this is a dynamic chart. So please keep on updating it. Maybe every 3 months, look at it. Is it still valid? Is the value proposition still right? What kind of customer segments am I serving? Are they changing? And so on. So there are 9 building blocks. I just repeat them here quickly because I understood that you have a bit of background in this area. So the first one is the customer segment. And we will look into that one. But that is, of course, who is your customer? How to define your customer? Can you cluster your customer based on, for example, needs? Can you group customers according to needs? Group them based on the geographic area they're in, interest in price. So the customer, that will be the focus of the session today, how to learn more also about your customer. So customer is one part, is the most essential part of the business model, right? And the next thing is the value proposition. So what are you exactly offering to your customers? We will look into that later on. So I will just mention to you the other ones. Channels is how you get your value to the customer, the different ways to reach out, different ways to communicate. If you have a complex product, it will normally be personal sales. If you have a more mass product, you can use online, email, or Facebook, or other mass products. You can also work via partners. So different ways to reach your customer. And also how, in the customer relationship, I already mentioned what kind of relation you have. Is it personal? Is it not personal? So these things is the next step after defining your customer. Revenue streams, really key. There are different kinds of revenue streams possible, of course. One-time sales, or maybe a license, or other kind of recurring sales. Your key resources. So how do you produce the value? What are the key assets within your company to develop it? The key activities performing by the key resources. The key partnerships, really important in our sector. Who are our partners? Because you often operate in more complex ecosystems. Partnerships are really key. And of course, the cost. What is the total cost of all above? So this is how it looks like, right? The business model canvas, and we'll zoom in more into the customer side. So to who are we creating value? Who are the most important customers? And what kind of value do we deliver? And which one of the customer problems do we help to solve? And how can we keep them satisfied? And how do we bundle or offer our products? And the value proposition is really something to spend some time on. I see often people write down some technical specifications of their product, but it's not the value proposition. The value proposition is really about the benefits. What kind of benefits do we offer to customers? So just to give an example, and also because I know you're in challenging areas, I want to share an example of a problem or a challenge that turned into a profitable business model. It was a botanical garden in Ghana, close to Accra, and it was not profitable. They had not enough income to cover the cost, and there was a risk that it would be closed and then used as construction area. So the managing director, who was on the picture here as well, he had the idea to turn it into a play-friendly park, a leisure park, where families can relax. So he did research, he visited several theme parks in the world to get inspiration, which is really key, right? What are other people doing? What can I learn from them? What are other successful models? And what might work here in Ghana? They developed a business plan together with a Dutch leisure park owner. So this other company, they have already this kind of canopy tour in Holland. And together they developed a business plan and applied for grant funding of the Dutch government. It got rejected. And the key thing was, so the next step where I supported was to narrow down, to do more market research. So look into what is the exact type of profile of customers. Can we really specify the number of people with enough income to go to this area? What are other alternatives in the market? What is to do there for leisure in Accra and around? And also, so more deep dive into the data of the customer, into the market, and also more elaboration on the financial model. So here I want to stress that it's really key to work on the data, on the rationale behind your plan, and enrich it. So then they got a 500,000 euro grant, and they started, and now the park is totally profitable with 2,000 visitors per week. I have to say that the founder also works 7 days per week, so dedication is of course key. It took them 4 years from the plan till opening to get it done. So just want to stress, it's of course not an easy road, a lot of obstacles, permission, government preparations, things that take longer. So just want to give you, kind of perspective that this kind of more public area turned into a profitable business model. So one of you mentioned in the question side that it was hard to sell to customers because they more or less don't care or they don't have interest. I think it's the same what Steve Jobs also mentioned. Your customers don't care about you. They don't care about what you offer. They care about themselves, their dreams, their goals. And they only care about you if you help them to reach their goals. And to do that, you must understand their goals as well as their needs and their deepest desires. I think this is one of the most important takeaways of today's class. What is it that our customers are looking for and how do we help them? Because often we started with that question, but then we start designing a product or service and we so focused on the product and service, I want to make it good, want to make it perfect. We're quite focused on the internal, on the inside of the company and not on the outside. So I heard that Steve Jobs was most of the time outside with his customers, talking to the customer. I know a little bit in his team because he was not in the office, but he was talking to customers all the time to understand what kind of products they would care to have from Apple to help them to make their life better. So that is one key message. Get out, visit your customer and hear what they have to say and what are their problems. If we will put it in a model, there's this value proposition canvas also developed by Strategizer, the team behind the business model canvas, where they focus on the customer side. So on the right side, you see the customer with the red circle, and on the most right side, there's the customer jobs. This is about what does the customer want to do. So they have some jobs they want to do. For example, a specific task, a specific problem, or they want to have a social thing to done. They want to look good. They want to get power or status. Or maybe it's more on security or feel good. Or maybe they have some basic needs, some communication on other areas. So there are some elements that this customer wants to get done. And to get it done, there are some pains and some gains. So here you can describe, if you just draw this picture for yourself, you can describe what is the customer job that my customer wants to get done, and what are the pains along the way. For example, what kind of risk, what kind of challenges, maybe it's too costly, maybe it takes too much time, too much money, too much effort, maybe it makes me feel bad, or there's a lack of performance, a lack of functions while he tries to solve this one job. Or maybe other elements like loss of face, loss of power, risk perceived. So this is more about the pain side. So just write down for yourself, if you think about a specific job related to your product or service, what are the pains that your customer faces when he wants to, get his job done? On the other side, there are also gains when they want to fulfill this job. So that can be planned, of course, but it can also be unexpected, surprising, good things he discovered along the way. So maybe things that make you happy. So there's a time saving, there's a money saving. Maybe the service or product provided exceed his expectations. It makes him happy. It makes him life easier. It helps him to learn and develop himself, or other ways to make him feel good. For example, increasing in status or other elements. You think of all kind of reliefs and positive elements that people experience. Now, if you look at so that's about the customer. So you really should think also, what keeps my customer awake at night, and how does he perceive the current way of this job done? Then go to your product or your service. So yeah, so how does it relate? What are products and services that are crucial for your customer to fulfill this job? So it's not about, so you turn it around. So the customer is the center of the universe, and how does your product or service help him to get the job done? Just write it down and think about, describe it, how it will help them. If you look at the square, how does your product or service relieve pain? How does it reduce pain? Maybe there is time saving. Maybe there's less effort. Maybe your product or service you introduce to the market will outperform the other solutions. What kind of barriers will you take away? So write down everything where you reduce pain for your customer in getting things done. Risk reduction, anything. And if you go to the upper part of the square, there is the gain creators. So here you can describe how your product and service create customer gains, how they create benefits your customer expect, or maybe is not expecting, or only desiring, who will be surprised that you provide it. What kind of gains, what kind of extra, what of positive experience your product and service will provide. And it should make him happy, of course. So things that are positive but is not relevant for your customer, that doesn't count, of course. It's only what is relevant for your customer. Are there maybe elements that they're looking for, you're not yet providing, but you could provide? So see if you can match the elements you wrote down in the pains and gains with the elements on your product side. Maybe help them to adopt easier the product, is lower cost, less investment, low risk, better quality, better performance, all these kind of elements. And rank your products and services according to the relevance of the customer. What are elements that are on top of the list and relevant for your customer? So here is an example of, sorry, question, do you ask, or examples and inputs? Well, you can share, you can write it down, and if you have specific questions, you can ask. It's a bit hard without a lot of background to answer all questions, but I can try later on. Here there's an example for an online platform. I think some of you provide IT mobile products that to a certain extent are a platform. And this one is already worked out for a learning platform for Harvard. So look at it, and you see on the right side a specific job the customer wants to get done, their pains, their gains, and also the offering of the product. So if you want, we can also share this in the Facebook group, so you can later on read it. So now we get more to the pragmatic side. So now you have a rough idea about what you think your customer wants, but of course it's key that you really deeply understand your customer. So the left side, that's the first square. The first step is to better understand what your customer need and want. And that stage, it's really important to do research, customer research, to learn more about what they want, and also use that research as input for your strategy. And the next step, so you need to collect information that will help you to define a market strategy and also express how your product solves their pains and or get the job done, and what kind of gains it will provide. And then you can design a marketing program to to answer on the needs and the wants of your customer and build relationship. But the first step, and that's what we focus on today, is to get a better understanding about your customer to better offer your products. One, it's also important because if we look into this stage, when you got your pilot done, you have initial results, the next thing you want to do is to have a better understanding about the profitability of your product and service. Is it feasible to get it into the market? Will it be profitable and sustainable in the end? So to do that, you should really collect a lot of data about the industry, collect more information about your customer, about the competitor, about the total market, about the trends, about the feelings, all kind of information that is available to understand the market side. There's also the technical side, and I think a lot of people focus on the technical feasibility. Are we able to deliver the products and goods? It's a good question, but I think in general, most of you already spend quite some time in getting the technical side of the product done. So now it's really key to focus for most of you to look into the market feasibility. Another thing, once you have the two above a bit more clear, you can look into the financial feasibility. Because maybe there's a market for it, and maybe you can offer the product, but maybe the market is too small or it's too costly to serve. Or maybe it's a high profitable one. So you need more input to draft that one. And next, once it seems that there's an attractive market, you of course need to look in how to design the organization. For example, if you have a product that needs service, of course, it is service staff. If you lease your product, you should have more financial expertise on board. So also your team profiles, the structure should fit with the total picture. Is it a mass product? Do you need a call center, or is it customized sales? Do you need staff to have a lot of time spent in visiting? So these are steps. So I think it's too much to discuss in detail right now, but it's good to have a bit bigger picture on what's next. So key is to also define the market, right? So we talked about emotions and learning about that and what they want, but then we also need to look in how big is the market. What I see quite often in plans is that we say, well, there are X number of whatever smallholder farmers, there are X number of people having a mobile phone in Africa, so that's the market. That's of course quite a shortcut. So there is a total addressable market. So how does a total available market in Africa or in the world look like? And of course, that is not your focus. It can be all countries, for example, with smallholder farmers, if you are in the agriculture, for example, the drip irrigation, or all people in developing countries with a mobile phone. It's quite broad. Next step is what is realistic to serve. How many people can you reach out to? So what is the likely group you can reach? And then the next part is, okay, what would be your share of market? I got an example on this later on. The question is how to get input. There's a lot of information on internet, a lot of information. You can find global data. And the best is, of course, to have in-depth market studies done in your specific country. It would be great if you can find these. That is excellent. That really describe the profile of customer you want to serve. So what are the behavior patterns? What's the budget, the money they have available for your service? So really spend time online to search for articles, for publications, to better understand your customer and to understand your market size. Another good source to get input on customer segments is to do interview with experts. There are business experts or customer experts in your market, partner organization, so maybe on the NGO side, maybe on the finance side, maybe on the technical side. Talk to them to really understand what is it that your customer wants and how you can reach them and what will be realistic for you to serve your market. Also interview your potential customers. What is their pain? What does keep them awake at night? And be aware that maybe the user might not be your customer. You might target on the user to get more info, which is relevant, but maybe they're not the one buying your products. They're not the decision taker. A lot of people just start with collecting data by interviewing potential customers. That's okay, but I would rather suggest start with desk research, so you really have a lot of information and can really fine-tune your questions specifically for your target group in your country. So you can use this information to define the total market and also to compare attractiveness of several segments. One segment might be more attractive than other segments. So that's key. Collect information, compare it, and discuss also with your team about assumptions. What did you thought? What is different? What is surprising? Maybe there's a new opportunity you now found out. So, and what kind of questions come back? So if you talk to 10 or 50 customers, what kind of things are coming back in every conversation? What is trends you observe that bother them? So here are some desk research examples I shared already with a few. We've done a deep dive study into the global water kiosk business models. There are 14 models discussed together. We did it with their funders like Danone and Aqua for All and 3 family investors. So here you can really find information about the kiosk model, which is relevant if kiosks are your customers, but also for IT solutions can learn about the challenges of this kind of businesses, right? If that's relevant for you, please look into it. It's available online. You can find the title here. Also 2 other studies that we've done related to sanitation. It's about circular economy, about the reuse of toilet resources. The publication is quite inspirational, a bit positive side, but it helps you to get a bigger picture about what's possible. Same for ICT and mobile facilitation. We learned it's a quite challenging market because it's quite small, but hence there are a lot of opportunities as well mentioned in this study. So a lot of other research available online you can just look into. For example, here I just will not go into the details, but this is for agri products. This pyramid shows a different type of smallholder farmers, and on the top, the green side are the large-scale farmers. You see in the table there are elements that describe these kind of segments, right? And there's also information online available about the financing needs of these groups. This is global data, so you should, if farmers are your target customer, really look into local information or via surveys, find out what is the financing need. But this already describes or profiles the customer. And then the next you can, for example, look into, okay, I want to service these regions and estimate the split of customers you can find there. In this case, there are 500 farmers per region. In region X, 60% is on the top smallholder farmers and 10% is more on the poor smallholder farmers. So if you calculate that, multiply that with the total budget they need for financing for long-term needs, then you will get to the serviceable market on the right side. It's a theoretical exercise to estimate your market. The next question is, of course, what is your market share? So this number just roughly estimates if all these farmers could get their financing needs solved tomorrow, then this is the budget to buy, for example, irrigation solutions. So you can use this kind of desk research to really describe and start your market research and describe your market. Really relevant for investors and funders to have some external data supporting your rationale that there's a market. So far about investigating your market. Next thing is, of course, you're not the only one. So if you define how you provide a solution to the customer, also look into, okay, there are other companies as well, or maybe other NGOs or other solutions. I think with a nice comment, I think Shabana mentioned that someone said, well, we provide sanitation solutions, but the nature is also a competitor for us. So investigate who is your competitor. Here I just provide a picture about, okay, describe for one, okay, how do they relate on price, performance, risk, service, other elements. and solving the need of your customer, and how do you relate to that. We do customer competition mapping on the offering side, so then you can find out where is the best area to offer. Another thing I want to share with you is the PPP canvas. Since some of you are NGOs or maybe even a high impact model, the PPP canvas developed by the PPP lab provides the business model canvas with extra fields. So here the beneficiaries are on the right side, also a segment. So for example, your product will benefit the poorest of the poor, but maybe NGOs are your customers, maybe saving groups are your customers. So the beneficiaries are not your customers, but here you can share them, right? You can describe their needs because your customers will also serve their needs. Also in this picture, there's the impact on the bottom, and on the left side, the governance, and in the total picture in the blue big square, there's the business model ecosystem. So if you operate in more complex areas, focusing on improving the life of the poorest of the poor who are not your direct customers, this is a really helpful model to describe your business model. And here, of course, we have an example. I can upload it in the Facebook group. This is an example on how to convert organic waste into electricity and biofertilizer. So here you see, for example, the extended beneficiaries are the people in the city, but the municipality is the ones who pays, right, for the service to keep the city clean. In the value proposition, you also see what is the value proposition offered to the municipality. That is, of course, clean environment. Another customer group is electricity company, and for them, the offering is renewable energy. So to also balance out their power shortages. So here you see different kind of groups with different needs, and in the end, also how the poor people will benefit from it. So I will share this example in the group, and I think we are right on time, right? So the key takeaway is take your customer as center of the business model design. Get out the office to learn about your customer. That's really key. Design, test, validate, redesign over and over again. Some people say, well, they think it's only one pilot you need. But I think in the first VIA Water Challenge we organized, we had mellow caps involved. There was the yellow solar power taxi in South Africa, and it took them about 4 pilots to fine-tune their model and before they got funded. So it's not about one pilot, it's a continuous process to learn and redesign and narrow down really what you offer to your customer. And collect data, more data to help you to define your strategy and also to provide rational input for your marketing strategy, but also to convince funders. So that's it. So the question is, where will we be in 5 years, right? So what will be the next step? I think we'll move over to the questions.
Thank you very much, Saskia, for such a wonderful and comprehensive introduction on the topic. So before we move on to taking questions from our participants, we would like to invite Kevin, who is on a recycling project, so recycling plastic waste and turning it into beautiful roofing tiles, which I've also seen myself. We would like to invite him to share with us his customer identification journey and see what we can learn from him. Kevin.
Yes. Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah. So for during the time I was designing the proposal, my idea was to actually let me start with a brief introduction. My project entails recycling plastics mostly and making building materials such as roofing for housing consumers locally. So initially when we were designing the project with during the VIA Water writing proposal stage, I mainly thought or rather, I was very focused on selling our roofing tiles to individual housing consumers. It makes a lot of sense because these are the guys who actually want to have beautiful roofs, or they are the main buyers of the roofing materials that we wanted to make. Interestingly enough, I can personally give a story of my own friend. He is very close to me, like any one of you. He wanted to build a house. He was so when we had actually started the conversation about when you're about to reach the roofing stage, please give me a call and then we'll do delivery for our tiles to you. When that time came, he called me and told me, you know what, I really wanted to use the roofing material, but I showed my roofing tile to my local roofing mason who was supposed to put it up for him. And he said this is a new building material. He likes it, but he has not seen it before. And he thought that it would be a big risk for him to try a new material and put his name on the line with this client. So he actually advised him not to use the roofing material and actually use what the traditional option that he was used to. So that really struck me because you can imagine thousands of customers who are out there want your product, but something I really underestimated is the value of the roofing mason. So as much as my consumer or my client was happy with the product, the person who was to advise the client advised him not to use a roofing material, but rather use what he was used to. So during my I think this happened not once, and I started realizing that actually maybe the individual housing consumers is not my end sort of client I should be chasing, but rather these roofing masons, because they have a big say to the final consumer on the type of roofing material or any type of building material that the consumer should use. So I actually met up with Saskia and shared this, and apparently this actually happens a lot to many entrepreneurs. We set up businesses knowing who our final consumer is, but really underestimate the sort of the people who are very close to the consumer and actually advise to use or not to use your product. I can also advise another experience that I have had with my material is that mostly when it comes to housing, it's the man who actually gets involved with buying the materials, but the wife usually dictates mostly on the aesthetic of the house. So anything to do with color is the wife who has to sort of give the advice on. So those are some of the things I've had to pick up. So as much as my biggest clients were individual housing consumers, I'm now focused on the roofing of masons. And I've also validated this because one of the biggest roofing companies in Kenya, which is known as Dekra, it took them over close to 5 years training this group of very influential people known as the roofing masons, and they've actually validated my change of tactic right now to actually look at chasing these guys as my next my actual client group that I should be targeting. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now, rechanging my business model canvas and my experiences so far.
Okay, Kevin, thank you so much. But we have 2 questions from you, from your dear friend,
All right.
Money.
All right.
So he wants to know, how did you, we hear your story, we understand how you figured, who your end customer eventually was. But he wants to know, how did you overcome that? Like, did you undertake some study, or how, what did you do? And also, did you train people to install the tiles for you? These are the 2 questions we've received from Isaac.
Yeah, I mean, it's I can say when you get into business and you have this, and you are very early into the business, and then you get like potential clients, you get really excited. Like a client will tell you, I want to put the roof, say, in 2 weeks' time or in a month's time. Immediately after the month, you're with the client, calling the client, hi, are you about to take up my product? And then he's during that time is when you realize, he's not the guy who is making the decision, but he'll tell you, I'm actually discussing with my roofing mason, and he's somehow reluctant. So when this happens for not 1 or 2 or 3 clients, then you get some sort of trail, and you start to connect the dots, and you realize firsthand that you need to change tact. And so for me, it was actually sort of like a personal experience that I realized, and I immediately learned that I need to change tact. So I cannot say like I did like a market research. It's something that I've experienced while I was, actually doing the sales and, trying to convert the leads into actual sales. I don't know whether that has I've answered Isaac on the first question. I didn't get the second question. Shabana, if you could.
Yeah, the second question was, did you train people to install the tiles for you?
Yes. So right now so actually right now that's what we want to do right now is train roofing masons on how to use our building materials, because we designed our roofing tile. With the same profile and the same specification as the old what you call traditional clay or concrete tiles. So from our point of view is we assumed that if they were used to using this roofing material, then automatically they should be able to know how to use ours, which was a big assumption. And we've realized that we need to stop that assumption and actually get these roofers, say, in a training program, like for half a day, to take them through our product and tell them, and actually show them how to do it. Yeah.
Sweet.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, great. So now we would like to know from our participants if you have any questions, because we haven't received any. So that means either you understood everything or you did not understand anything. So please tell us what your questions are. We would like to now move a little bit to the questions that we also received on the Facebook group, and see if there is any question that links back to the topic of our today's conversation, which is customer segmentation and value proposition. Saskia, do you want to address some of the points that were raised?
Yeah. So, thank you very much also, Kevin, for illustrating the road. I think I also want to add that for Kevin, the task got tested by an international agency to reduce the perceived risk of the customer. And here you see that that identifying the key decision taker is really a crucial process. It can be done by observing trends in your sales, and also maybe for some by reading online research before you start approaching your customer. So the different kind of questions we received in Facebook are more statements. So I really would invite you to ask questions and maybe provide a bit of context. I think a challenging element for all of you getting out of the pilot stage that continuous cash flow. That's a really challenge, especially with keeping stock, right? So you need to keep stock, but it is costly. You don't know when you will sell. Well, ideally, you would sell to a customer and then have the time to produce your product. But that's not always the issue, because I'm not quite sure what the question is. There was something mentioned about inventory. So if once you cover the market, of course, keeping stock is more cost efficient to do that early days. So try to keep a low stock and sell first and then produce. Marketing products. Ahmed already mentioned that the target group is changing, and that's true. I have another example that might also be relevant for the more advanced. When I started 8 years ago with supporting companies in Africa and working with investors, I noticed a lot of investors just want to invest in companies for the feel good, for the do good, let's try. And over time, I see they now have more professional investment thesis. So also the investors doing impact investment are really professionalizing and having more, have a high demand for the kind of information they get out of the company. So more tighter impact assessment, and also they want more money back. So they really look for getting money back and generate impact. While 7-8 years ago it was more, I won't say trial and error, but they just tried and see what happened. So that's how customers change. I think, if you have questions on this specific element, please write down your question. On the next page, what kind of skills do you need to let your business grow? And I think Luchiri totally nailed it down. Car salesman skills. I agree totally. Closing sales. So if you expand the team, find someone that is able to close sales. So most company founders with a product are often on the technical side, really want to deliver good product, risk averse, and sales people are mostly on the other side, taking risk, just maybe sell something that's hard to produce. But find another DNA type, and maybe you can handle it yourself, but often it's another DNA type that really can sell and close. So look for the track record of these people in closing deals. And I think in your previous workshop on HR, you call it a hustler. That's really a good person to get out it to the market. Yeah. What challenges do you see ahead of you? First mover challenges that others might take advantage of. There is really to move fast and cover the market. Use your grants to capture a larger group, or maybe sell at cost and generate revenue later, just to capture them and keep them. Keeping cost. Next, we already go to the next. Which action did you already pursue to let your business grow? Learning new skills, really great. Taking different roles. And Nashira mentioned identifying and learning to understand the behavior of your customer. It's really key. That is the most important thing you can do. Learn about your customer. Get out there, or maybe lock yourself in a room with the yellow pages. Start calling. Just call. Sometimes it might be scary to approach a customer. Just get numbers. Just call and maybe 3 days only on the phone spent to learn about them. You will learn. So a bit scary at start, but you will feel more comfortable later on. Any local challenges? Access to funding is always challenging, especially for innovative business. That's a true challenge because a lot of traditional funders do more of the known sectors. So it's really key to grow with customers, right? Don't rely on external funding because you cannot predict it. It's short term. It might take a lot of effort to get it. So focus on getting customers to grow your company. Funding will come once you have solid sales. So in one of the trainings we do on investor landscape, we do with the VIA Go group, is about defining who is the investor. And in general, investors look for 2-3 years of sales. So if you don't have 2-3 years of sales, don't start looking for the commercial funding. Well, you can do it. There are always exceptions, but it might take a lot of effort. Financial requirements, government procedures, that's not helping, but of course key to include the government in your plans because they can help to keep you in the market. If they're not involved, then maybe change something and you're out of the market. So really, especially in water sanitation, key to have it in. I think we have a few minutes left.
And we're hoping that we can get some questions from our participants, but as people are still thinking and maybe waking up in different parts of the world, I have a question for you, Saskia. I have noticed that in the projects that we support through VIA Water, because they're very early stage innovation piloting projects, a lot of them had not thought about a potential customer when they were writing the proposal. All they had in mind was a problem and a solution that they wanted to try out. So having that context in mind, what do you think is the right time to go through the customer identification process, or can you do it while you're piloting your innovation, or should you wait that your innovation becomes a success, or when should one do it?
Great question, Shabana. I think every day is the right moment to work on customer identification. So now is a good moment because now you've experience with your product, you've initial market feedback, but also if you launch a new product, you can start before you launch it. So then look into the minimal viable product approach, the lean startup principles. There's a lot of information, especially in IT, on how to start with the customer segment and have minimal development done to get feedback, so you can adjust and use the customer feedback to design your product. So here it's really about solving needs of customers, using the jobs they need to get done, their pains and the gains they look for. So every day is a good moment to learn about your customer and fine tune, because they also change. Maybe you get a picture of the customer today, but maybe in a year or year and a half, things will change, right?
Great, thank you.
More questions? Plus de questions?
Any questions, guys? Nope, we haven't received any questions, so that means everything is perfectly clear.
Super.
Okay, if not, then we have a few minutes, then I would like to ask one more question. So we have a case in one of our projects in Ghana that the product was designed for a customer, you know, from the pro-poor group, let's say, and then the I would say, customer with which the innovation was being designed requested that the product be refined or, you know, redesigned for a higher income group because of ABC reason. Do you think those kind of insights and those kind of your mid customers, for which in this case is a utility that you design the product for, you should just take into account their needs directly and redo the whole process of designing the product for a new customer group? In those cases, what would you advise to entrepreneurs and companies working on such products?
So I think in this case, I just showed the PPP canvas. In this case, the utility is the customer, right? And the beneficiaries in this case, initially was focused on the poor, but then also middle class are benefit of the solution, but they're not directly paying, right? The utility is the paying customer. So the value you offer is directly to this customer. And in this case, with utilities, they're quite dominant, right? It's hard in this case to serve another utility in the same country because there's only one. So if their need is to serve a certain group, I think it's hard to avoid, right? So their need is to serve this group, and then you can, of course, include the proper strategy, but always follow your customer.
Okay, we've got a question here from Mumini, who's from Skyfox. He is asking us, dealing with government is always challenging in Africa, especially in Africa. How do you advise us to handle government businesses, or how do you do business with governments?
That's a good question. I have to say that we mostly focus on SMEs in business, and we are not really advising on PPP. I think it's a complex area. I think the PPP Lab, there's online a website where they share a lot of experience on PPPs in water, sanitation, and in agri on how to deal with that. So I have to say we're not directly involved in government business transactions, although when we did the kiosk research with the funders, we said, well, the main target group of this research is to get government support on board, because they really can help also with concessions to create a marketplace for these businesses. So yes, advice, it's key to get them in, but look at the PPP lab site for more information. So there's also Dick mentioned that also Mishila changed his customer group to the one with more needs, right? So I think in general, although we are focusing on the poor, sometimes often it's more relevant maybe to start with a bit more upper class customer group to get your model out there. It's already challenging to design a new product, the logistics, the cost, the financing, everything involved. It's already a major challenge you guys take on. So sometimes maybe start with middle class to fine tune your product, get a lot of cash flow, and then move to the more challenging segments with lower budgets.
All right, so if there are not any more questions or comments, then we would like to wrap up the masterclass. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining the class, and have a good rest of the day at work or wherever you want to be today. Just for information, the recording for this masterclass and the PowerPoint used by Saskia will be shared with you all by my colleague V. I see that there is some comment now. Okay, there are thank yous. All right, thank you. Thank you for joining. All right, goodbye, guys.
Thank you, bye-bye.